Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, July 26th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. It is decision day on an issue that has been the source of questions and controversy. The San Diego City Council voted 6-3 to settle lawsuits related to two high-rise office buildings downtown. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has more.
The city has been trapped in costly leases for 101 Ash Street and Civic Center Plaza for several years now. And 101 Ash Street can't even be occupied because of asbestos that was released during renovations. The city was trying to void those leases in court by arguing their real estate advisor broke state ethics laws. The settlement will have the city buy the buildings for $132 million. Mayor Todd Gloria says it's the least bad option and that continuing with the lawsuit could be even costlier.
If we were to lose, the potential cost to taxpayers is staggering. It would mean paying back rent and penalties, millions of dollars going to reimbursing the legal fees of Sistera and CGA, and continuing with the less favorable financial terms than what this settlement offers.
But City Attorney Mara Elliott advised the council to reject the settlement. She says it doesn't adequately protect the city's interests and that she's confident in the city's ability to win its lawsuit at trial.
We also know that the sweetheart deal will not deter others from committing bad acts against the city. We'll send the message that the city buckles at the knees when the going gets tough.
The settlement does not put an end to the 101 Ash story. The city still has to decide whether to renovate or demolish the building. There are also ongoing lawsuits involving contractors, city employees, and the city's real estate advisor, Jason Hughes, who's also the subject of a criminal investigation. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
The San Diego City Council has approved a project that will be the first of its kind in the country, a child care center for police officers' families. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado has the details.
According to 2022 department figures, 20 police officers are leaving the force every month, and replacing them costs the city $4 million in onboarding costs alone. Lieutenant Brian Avera is a 16-year veteran of the police department and the director of the San Diego Police Officers Association. He says child care plays a big role in that equation.
Our child care project really originated with a phone call with one of our members that needed help with childcare. And we heard that, and we actually wanted to do something about it.
That officer's phone call saying they could no longer afford to work for the department because of childcare opened the floodgates.
Once we started talking about it, we had a lot of officers reach out and ask us for assistance. And that's really what caused us, as I like to say, put one foot in front of the other through this difficult project and get to where we are 4 years later.
Where they are 4 years later is a partnership with KinderCare to develop a first-in-the-nation program specifically to address childcare issues in police officers' families. That got unanimous approval from the San Diego City Council for the lease agreement and a $3 million state grant.
We're very happy to see that passed unanimously.
This is definitely a win-win solution to what we're hearing from police officers every single day, is that because of their odd hours, it's difficult for them to find suitable childcare for them to keep San Diego safe.
Council member Chris Cate says the child care center will be developed in an existing building in Kearny Mesa. He also says while no city money is being used for this project now, this is something future city council members might consider when the money runs out.
I am getting contacted through every means available by members of our police department and saying, please get me on that list.
Officers are already hoping to get their children into the center that still needs $1 million worth of renovations. The SDPOA plans to fund the program once the grant money runs out in 5 years through their fundraising campaigns. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
Scientists from Scripps Research and UC San Diego say they've found the origin of COVID-19. They also found evidence that the virus jumped from animals to humans several times. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen has the story.
In 2 studies published today in the journal Science, researchers at Scripps Research and UCSD say they've pinpointed the origin of COVID-19 and that it jumped from animal hosts to humans at least 24 times. Christian Anderson is a professor of immunology and microbiology at Scripps Research. He says data analysis shows the virus originated from a market in Wuhan, China.
Well, all this evidence tells us the same thing. It points right to this particular market in the middle of Wuhan, which is the early suspected place where this pandemic actually started.
That's not new information, but what the research shows is that it's highly unlikely that the virus came from a lab. Moreover, he says the evidence shows a zoonotic origin, that is, the virus jumped from animals to humans. And one of the candidates is the raccoon dogs, a wild member of the dog family common in mainland East Asia. It is also named because of the resemblance to the common raccoon.
I'll say the reason why raccoon dogs is one of the main suspects here is that we did find SARS-1, for example, in raccoon dogs during the SARS-1 epidemic. So that's why it was one of the highly suspect ones.
In his paper, UCSD graduate researcher Jonathan Picard says the virus may have jumped to humans 24 times before 2 lineages emerged that caused the pandemic.
And for lineage B, it probably came first, but we time it to being introduced around November 18th, a little bit before, a little bit after, but that's just roughly around there, late November. And then lineage A would have been introduced within weeks of that.
He says there is no evidence the virus was prevalent before December 2019. Researchers were able to determine that using molecular clock simulation, basically tracking the mutation rate of the virus in reverse. While much of the information is not new, Picard says understanding how the virus emerged would help us better prepare for and prevent the next pandemic-causing virus. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
The U.S. is now seeing its first cases of monkeypox in children. The CDC is reporting 2 kids have been infected with the virus. Thousands of cases have been reported since the outbreak started in May. Mandy Gaither has the latest on what the U.S. is doing to step up its monkeypox response.
Close to 3,000 monkeypox cases reported in the U.S. since May, but top U.S. health officials believe there are many more.
It's a growing problem. The World Health Organization has declared it a public health emergency of international concern.
The CDC says most of the cases are among men who have sex with men, with a median age of 36. But the virus has now been identified in 2 children. The cases are unrelated and likely the result of household transmission. Both have symptoms but are in good health and receiving treatment. An investigation into how the children were infected is ongoing, but the virus is spread through close skin-to-skin contact. The CDC says that can include holding, cuddling, feeding, or through shared items like towels, bedding, cups, and utensils.
It's very clear with the spread of this that there now has to be a balance between vaccines available for those who clearly have been exposed, as well as those at risk.
Right now, states aren't required to report monkeypox data, meaning cases are likely undercounted. But the White House is now debating whether to declare a public health emergency to change that. 300,000 monkeypox vaccines have been shipped to U.S. states and territories. The CDC estimates that more than 1.5 million people are eligible for the vaccine. Each person needs 2 doses 4 weeks apart. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
San Diego County says it's working with the LGBTQ community to get the word out about monkeypox vaccines. The county is sponsoring 2 vaccination events this Thursday and Friday, where about 800 doses will be available to those most at risk. Appointments are required and are expected to fill quickly. They can be made by calling 211. About 900 doses have been sent to local medical groups, and to date, the county has 20 confirmed and probable cases. The governor of Baja California vetoed a ban on conversion therapy, the debunked pseudoscientific practice that aims to change people's sexual orientation. KPBS border reporter Gustavo Solis says the region's gay rights activists are now fighting back.
The memories remain raw for 27-year-old Benjamin Sanchez. As the teenage son of a pastor in an ultra-Christian community of Tijuana, his sexual identity was considered a sin. Church leaders told him that conversion therapy would offer him a cure, but he ended up with trauma.
Me tiene que mirar a un espejo y decirme como yo no soy esto, no me gustan los hombres, ser afeminado está mal, ser afeminado es estar atentando en contra del plan que Dios tiene para mí.
For years, the so-called therapy left Sanchez confused and prone to panic attacks. So this spring, when he heard that Baja California State Congress was going to ban conversion therapy, Sanchez decided to speak out.
Creo que es mi responsabilidad, yo que pude salir vivo de esto, que nadie más lo tenga que volver a pasar en su vida.
He says it's his responsibility, as someone who lived through this and survived, to ensure that no one else goes through what he did. The state Congress initially passed a ban in April, but the governor, Marina del Pilar Ávila, vetoed the ban. Instead, she chose to regulate the industry. The governor's regulations give parents the right to choose to send their kids to conversion therapy, as long as the kids are not forced to go. Activists have quickly pointed out that several international medical groups, including the American Psychological Association, have debunked conversion therapy as a dangerous pseudoscience.
Y hay muchas instituciones, tanto a nivel nacional como a nivel internacional y global, que han marcado y mencionado que no son válidas, no funcionan, dañan, son contraproducentes, generan estigmas, generan traumas.
That was Cesar Espinosa, the director of COCUT, a Tijuana-based LGBT rights nonprofit. He says studies have shown that conversion therapy does more harm than good. California banned the practice for minors in 2012, partly because experts say that people subjected to conversion therapy end up with higher risks of suicidal behavior. Ilan Meyer of the UCLA Williams Institute says that people who are exposed to conversion therapy are more likely to suffer from several medical conditions.
That could lead to suicide attempts, depression, anxiety, substance use disorders, and a range of mental health problems.
Shortly after the governor announced her regulations, COCUT filed a lawsuit seeking to keep the original ban, the one passed by Baja California Congress. Sanchez and other advocates say that regulations create a massive loophole because most of the people in conversion therapy are minors who have been manipulated by their parents and churches into going to conversion therapy. Sanchez says that as a teenager, if anyone had asked him if he chose to go to conversion therapy, he would have said it was his idea.
Yo hubiera dicho sí porque yo sé que es lo correcto, y yo sé que yo no quiero esto en mi vida y yo no quiero ser una persona homosexual.
I would have told him yes, he said. I want to be here because this is the right thing to do. I don't want to be gay. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
Extreme weather conditions continue to grip the nation, with dangerous heat and a massive wildfire in the west to severe flooding in the Midwest. Mike Valerio breaks it all down.
As historic flooding spread across the St. Louis area, a child rescued by raft, floodwater surrounding cars throughout the neighborhood. Zooming in, a dog and child hanging on to two people wading through the water. The torrential and record-breaking rainfall led to St. Louis's wettest day ever recorded.
It was very scary, overwhelming, too much.
So all you brought with you is what you were wearing.
That's correct.
Pets in tow, as city fire personnel said they checked about 18 flooded homes in the Ellendale neighborhood, rescuing at least 6 people and 6 dogs by boat. Parts of I-70 also flooded.
So I woke up and there was a couple feet in and it just kept going up.
In the Pacific Northwest, excessive heat warnings moving in, with temperatures in some places possibly reaching 109 degrees. Seattle expecting a high of 92 today. Its average 79. In California, emergency officials say the Oak Fire near Yosemite National Park is now 26% contained, consuming more than 18,000 acres since Friday.
The thing, though, right now is how dry it is gives that potential for fires to grow very fast, be very big, very strong, and that potential is there for disaster.
Firefighters say while the inferno's been explosive, there's been no loss of life from the state's largest wildfire. Mike Valerio, KPBS News.
The
The big story in the southwestern part of the nation is the fact that the monsoon moisture is going to continue. Some of that is going to try to get into Southern California, bring the chance for a couple showers in the mountains and deserts, but it's likely going to be kind of hit or miss, and likely more miss than hit. And near the coast, we're going to stay pretty pleasant and seasonable here over the next couple of days. So here is that big picture story. You'll notice most of the widespread storms in and around the Four Corners region, but at least some spotty storms are going to get into the Sierra Nevada and into Southern California too. So that is good news. As we look ahead to tonight, temperatures get back down into the mid-60s for you in Oceanside Tuesday night, upper 50s into Ramona, low 80s staying pretty mild in Borrego Springs, low 60s out towards Mount Laguna. Wednesday, a typical day for us when it comes to temperatures, especially along the coast, but where it's dry, we're looking at typical July heat too. And the most widespread storm activity here in the Four Corners, but you'll notice a little bit of green even trying to get into some of the mountains here for our Wednesday. Temperatures getting up into the mid-70s in Oceanside for highs on Wednesday afternoon, low 70s out towards San Diego, 90s on the way in El Cajon, upper 70s in Mount Laguna, and Borrego Springs in the triple digits again. So near the coast, temps mid-70s here, no real changes day in, day out. A mix of sunshine and clouds in the forecast over the next couple of days. Further inland, temperatures a little bit warmer into the low 80s, but no major warmth on the way here, with again a mix of sunshine and clouds and looking to stay dry here inland. In the mountains, that's where we have a chance for perhaps a morning shower Friday, maybe a stray storm on Sunday, but overall looking at temps in the mid-70s and likely more dry time than not. And in the deserts too, chance for a thunderstorm on Sunday, but between now and then it is going to stay pretty toasty in the upper 90s and lower triple digits. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
San Diego County spent more than $103 million to operate the Crown Plaza Hotel in Mission Valley as a COVID-19 isolation center. As Cody Delaney reports, newly obtained documents could help explain complaints about poor quality food.
County officials spent more money on security guards at the Crown Plaza than on food for people who are isolated there with COVID-19. We're talking $4 million more. And new information shows food vendors were cited by county health inspectors for safety violations. Throughout the program, people have complained about small portions and undercooked food. Emily Cobb isolated the Crown Plaza for 10 days in 2020 after her 2-year-old son tested positive. Hotel staff told her to just try and feed her toddler a salad because that's all they had.
I called and asked them, I said, hey, do you guys have any kid-friendly options? They're like, oh, no, sorry. You can order food to have it delivered. We'll leave it outside your door.
A county spokesperson would not comment on complaints about food. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource investigative reporter Cody Delaney.
iNewsSource is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. As prices for essentials like groceries, rent, and medications skyrocket, millions of Americans have turned to food banks for relief. But now those life-saving resources are facing critical shortages. Gabe Cohen has more.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
Jean Vaccarino has turned to food banks after months of choosing between groceries and her heart medicine.
I will probably be homeless by next year because of the rent has tripled.
She says she's been living on disability for the past few years, making it harder to make ends meet.
I can't buy clothes. I can't buy for my grandchildren. You can't buy anything. You know, it's day to day, and you just hope and pray for the best.
With rising inflation, the average American is spending nearly $500 more per month, including $78 more on food. Toughest for those living paycheck to paycheck. In a June poll, 60% of lower-income households said grocery prices were a major problem. So millions are turning to food banks for help. Some pantries say they're serving 50% more people than a year ago. Long lines in Phoenix mirror the worst days of the pandemic. In San Antonio, 1/3 of these people are here for the first time.
These are families that are working, but they are just not making enough to put food on the table at the end of the day.
Sometimes it's stressful and a struggle.
Jessica Yingling works at a nursing home, but she and her son still need this Maryland pantry.
Everything's more expensive and you're making the same amount that you were making before.
Bill Murphy is picking up meals for veterans.
It'll mean survival, bottom line.
Demand is skyrocketing as the government scales back COVID assistance programs and donations from the USDA and grocery stores plummet, stretching food banks to the brink.
They don't have surplus, well, then it cuts our supply.
In Ohio, warehouses are drained. They say it's the worst shortage in years, and pantries are rationing food to stay afloat. Few banks can afford to buy supply to fill the gap, and even that is getting far pricier.
America is transitioning from a pandemic crisis to a hunger crisis. The worst case scenario is that food banks will have to continue to wind down and even shut down food distributions that are vital lifelines for communities across this country.
And if sky-high inflation lingers, more families will need help.
Now you just get to the point where you're just going to have to go get it.
Janet Murray is raising her grandson, and for the first time, this free food is critical.
I guess more of it's going to be coming to the food banks. It's sad, it really is, but what are you going to do?
And that was Gabe Cohen reporting. Feeding America is asking Congress to increase funding to the Emergency Food Assistance Program and for the USDA to send more supplies to food banks. They call this a dangerous and unsustainable trajectory. If you are interested in helping, you can donate locally at feedingsandiego.org. The countdown is on for people who've got student loans to pay off. Federal student loan payments are set to restart August 31st, at least for now. The date has been extended multiple times. If this goes like past extensions, there could be a decision on the matter this week. In the meantime, President Joe Biden is also considering whether to take executive action to broadly forgive a portion of the balances of people with outstanding federal student loan debt. He said he's still shooting to have a decision on that by the end of August. And 41 days and counting, gas prices dropping again in San Diego County. The average price of self-serve regular dropped nearly 3 cents to $5.67 a gallon. Experts say consumers appear to be taking the pressure off their wallets by filling up less, leading to more supply. We're still paying about $1.37 more than we were a year ago at this time. A small school district in East County is pioneering a project that could become a big deal for the electric grid when demand for power climbs. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson shows us how it works.
Several electric school buses at the Cajon Valley Union School District are poised to deliver more than children to school. They'll be pumping electricity from their batteries back into the grid when peak demands hit. The buses have larger batteries than regular electric vehicles, and they could be an important source of power.
If there's an opportunity to leverage that backup power, we want them, if it makes sense economically for them to do so, we want them to potentially connect to the grid and us being able to reduce load.
The buses can be fully charged in 2.5 hours, and the chargers also draw power from the bus battery and return it to the grid. They were developed by the San Diego-based company Nuvi.
Those buses have the ability to plug that gap between the peak consumption and the generation that is available at any time.
This program at Cajon Valley is the first vehicle-to-grid power project to come online in the country. The project will be constantly evaluated during its 5-year run. If it works as hoped, the grid will get extra power and the school will be able to cash in. This is just one small project, a demonstration project to prove the technology works. It could, however, spread to lots of other school bus fleets. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, is the Federal Reserve risking a recession by raising interest rates to fight inflation? Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And here is another look at today's top stories. The San Diego City Council has voted 6-3 to settle lawsuits related to 2 high-rise office buildings downtown. The city has been trapped in costly leases for 101 Ash Street and Civic Center Plaza, but it's been trying to avoid those deals by arguing their real estate advisor broke state ethics laws. Under the settlement, the city will buy the buildings for $132 million. Mayor Todd Gloria says continuing with the lawsuits could be even costlier. And the San Diego City Council unanimously approved the first of its kind child care program for police officers' families, and that includes a lease agreement and a $3 million state grant. It will be developed in an existing building in Kearney Mesa. While no city money is being used for this project now, it will run out in 5 years. After that, the SDPOA plans to fund the program through their fundraising campaigns. Lottery fever is hitting the country as the Mega Millions jackpot grows to $830 million for tonight's drawing. It's the largest prize since a $1.5 billion jackpot in January of 2021. And according to the California Lottery, the odds of matching all 5 numbers and the mega number are 1 in 302 million. The overall chance of winning any prize is 1 in 24. But that has not stopped people from buying tickets and dreaming about what they'd do if they hit that jackpot.
And my mom a house first, probably on the 7-Eleven, so I won't have to work that much.
Share it with all my family and friends, so nothing too crazy. Take my dog on luxurious trips, you know. You got to get involved when it's worth a lot of money, so yeah, today's the day, so we're going to win, right?
I don't think I'll win. I don't think I'll win. I'm sorry. I'm just buying it for fun.
Oh, he needs to be more optimistic. Ticket sales end at 7 o'clock tonight with the drawing set for 8 p.m. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.